Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. The Snurtch by Sean Ferrell. Introduction. The trouble with Ruthie. Ruthie wasn't a bad kid. At least she didn't want to be. She wanted to sit quietly in class, listen to the teacher, and follow the rules just like everyone else. She wanted to be the kind of student teachers smiled at and classmates invited to play during recess. But there was a problem. A big, messy, noisy, embarrassing problem that had a mind of its own. It was called the Snurtch. Now, Ruthie never invited the Snurtch into her life. It wasn't like she had sent out a fancy invitation that read, "Dear Snurtch, please come into my life and make me do things I don't mean to do. Sincerely, Ruthie." Nope. The Snurtch had simply appeared, like an itch that refused to go away. It followed her everywhere, looming, lurking, and waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. And the worst part? Nobody else could see it. Chapter 1. The first day of the rest of her Snurtch-filled life. It all started on a Monday morning. Mondays were already tough, but on this Monday, Ruthie promised herself she would be good. She would not talk too much. She would not make weird noises. She would not accidentally knock over her milk carton again. She marched into class, took her seat, folded her hands neatly, and thought, "This is it. This is the day I prove to everyone that I am a responsible, rule-following, teacher-approved child." For the first 30 seconds, things went great. Then the Snurtch arrived. It slithered into her chair, wrapped itself around her, and whispered, "You know what would be really funny? If you made a giant snorting sound right now." Ruthie's eyes widened. No, she thought. No, I'm being good today. But the Snurtch leaned in closer and grinned. "Come on. You know you want to." And before she could stop herself, snort, the entire class turned to look at her. Her best friend giggled. Her teacher sighed. "Ruthie," the teacher said in that disappointed adult tone that felt like 1,000 tiny pinches. Ruthie's face turned bright red. She turned to glare at the Snurtch, but it was already pretending it had nothing to do with it. Typical. Chapter 2. The Snurtch has no chill. Once the Snurtch started, it was impossible to stop. During math, it made Ruthie tap her pencil so loudly that even she was annoyed by it. During lunch, it knocked her juice box over, right onto Michael's lap. During reading time, it whispered, "Wouldn't it be funny if you just rolled on the floor for no reason?" And the worst part? Every time Ruthie tried to explain that it wasn't her fault, that it was the Snurtch, people just looked at her like she was making excuses. Her classmates sighed, her teacher frowned, even her best friend, Emily, started sitting farther away. By the end of the day, Ruthie felt like crawling under her desk and never coming out. Chapter 3. The breaking point. The final straw came during art class. Ruthie loved art. It was the one part of the day where she felt free, where she could just draw and paint and let her imagination run wild. Today, the teacher gave them a big blank sheet of paper and told them to draw something that made them happy. Ruthie took a deep breath. This is my chance to show everyone I can be calm and focused. She picked up her marker and started drawing the most beautiful picture of a rainbow she had ever made. Then the Snurtch struck. It grabbed her hand. It yanked her marker, and before she could stop it, it scribbled all over her rainbow. Ruthie gasped. No, but it was too late. The Snurtch had turned her masterpiece into a mess. It looked like a tornado had run through it. Ruthie snapped. She grabbed her paper, crumpled it into a ball, and threw it as hard as she could. It hit the teacher's desk with a loud thwap. Silence. Every single person in the room stared at her. Her teacher's eyebrows shot up so high they nearly flew off her forehead. "Ruthie," she said slowly, "I think you need a break." And just like that, Ruthie found herself sitting outside the classroom. Alone. Well, not completely alone. The Snurtch sat beside her, looking smug. And for the first time, Ruthie didn't just feel angry. She felt tired. Chapter 4. The Snurtch gets a face. Ruthie was tired of getting in trouble. Tired of ruining everything. Tired of feeling like she wasn't in control of her own self. And that's when she got an idea. A wild, strange, brilliant idea. She reached for her paper. she picked up a crayon, and she drew the Snurtch. For the first time, she saw exactly what it looked like. Messy, squiggly, a little wild. It had big eyes and a smirk like it was always planning something. When she finished, she held up her drawing. "There," she said. "That's you." The Snurtch blinked. It looked at the paper, then back at her. Then, something strange happened. It shrank. Just a little. Not much, but enough for Ruthie to notice. And for the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt all day. Hope. Final thoughts. Taming the Snurtch. Ruthie's Snurtch never disappeared completely. But as she got older, she learned how to handle it. She learned to recognize when it was acting up. She learned to take deep breaths when she felt frustrated. She learned that just because the Snurtch had ideas didn't mean she had to listen to them. And most importantly, she learned that she wasn't alone. Because at the end of the day, we all have a Snurtch. The trick is learning how to keep it in check. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends. And let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.